Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, and before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. Virtually everything on our list this week is moving because of the Commander format, and many of the cards are starting to make regular appearances week after week. Things like Creekwood Liege and Savara, for example. Alright, let's dive right into our top 10 list, and we're going to start right here with Reprocess from Urza's Saga. Coming in at number 10 this week and up 69% to $3.50. Here we have Reprocess from Urza's Saga. Now there are many rares from Urza's Saga that are actually on the reserve list. However, Reprocess is not one of them. It had a printing in 7th edition, and of note, you can pick up that printing for around $1. So pretty good deal there in comparison if you need to get your hands on a Reprocess. Fantastic card in the current Commander environment, especially with all of these new commanders that generate creatures every single turn for free, essentially. Reprocess is 4 mana for a sorcery, and you can sacrifice any number of artifacts, creatures, and or lands, and draw a card for each sacrificed this way. Pretty good deal when you're making a bunch of free creatures every turn anyway. Also works really well in any types of decks that can generate lots of treasure tokens, for example. Coming in at number 9 this week, we have a brand new card from Strixhaven School of Mages at $5.07. Sedgemoor Witch is also up 69% this week. This is actually a really solid card, and $5 isn't a terrible price to be paying for it. For 3 mana, we're getting a 3/2 Human Warlock that has Menace. It also has a little bit of built-in protection in that your opponents have to pay 3 life anytime they decide to target the witch. But the big kicker here is that it has Magecraft, so whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you're going to create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token. Now, of course, this combines really well with one of our other big winners this week, Creekwood Liege. Instead of making 1/1s, now all of a sudden you're making 3/3s. Pretty good deal anytime you cast an instant or sorcery. Our number 8 winner this week is the 6th edition version of Mana Short at $3. This is up 92% this week. It's actually had quite a few printings. You can still get a 7th or a 4th edition printing for under $2 if you want to have a Mana Short. Pretty good way to screw over one of your opponents for at least one turn. You can spend 3 mana at instant speed to have them tap all their lands and empty their mana pool. Also works really well if you're planning on building yourself some sort of Magecraft deck. I never thought I would actually be saying this, but our number 7 winner this week is one of the many printings of Counterspell. In fact, it's the Dual Decks Jace vs. Chandra printing. At $5.50, this is up 108% this week. And now, of course, this is because it's been confirmed that Counterspell is going to be in Modern Horizons 2, which is a big move for Magic the Gathering. It puts Counterspell up into the modern format. This particular version of Counterspell only has one other printing, and that was the signature spellbook Jace. Every other printing of this card has some form of other art, and there has been plenty of them over the years. So people are tending to pick off these alt versions that have low quantities out there in the marketplace. After all, the print runs on things like dual decks and spellbooks is relatively low in comparison to other sets. Big move for Magic, moving Counterspell into the modern format. Alright, in the number 6 spot this week, we have our only reserve list card, and that would be Wellspring from Mirage at $12.40. Now this is also up 108%. Pretty interesting enchantment actually. For 1 white, 1 green, and 1, we're getting an enchant land. Now when it comes into play, you gain control of the enchanted land. Now at the end of each of your turns, you lose control of that land, but at the beginning of your turn, you get it back. It seems like kind of a fun way to borrow your opponent's command tower. Our number 5 winner has been on and off our list a few times over the course of the last year or so. Rune Sword from the Dark is up 112% this week to $4.75. This is an absolutely stratospheric new high for this particular card, especially since you can get a Chronicles printing of it for still around $0.25. Rune Sword's not really playable, but it's kind of a fun and interesting artifact for 6 mana. We can pay 3 and tap it to have one of our attacking creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn. Now, if that creature damages another creature, that creature cannot be regenerated, and if it were to die, it would be exiled instead. Like I was saying, not an overly playable card, but could definitely be fun in something like a cube or just some sort of casual commander deck. Our number 4 winner has been gaining a ton of traction over the course of the last couple of weeks. Creekwood Liege is everybody's new favorite Golgari lord. For 4 mana, we're getting a 2/2 horror, but other black creatures you control get +1/+1, and other green creatures you control also get +1/+1. Now at the beginning of your upkeep, you make a 1/1, or essentially a 3/3 black and green worm creature token and put it onto the battlefield. At $17, this thing is up another 205% this week. Now, of note, the Modern Masters printing is quite a bit cheaper than the Eventide printing at nearly $30. There has been some absolutely wild swings with the Commander 2017 printing of Read the Bone. Our number 3 winner is back up 226% this week to nearly $4.50. It's been at $5, back down to $1, back up at $5, sitting at $4.50 this week. So somebody is really having a lot of fun with the pricing on this card. This card's got a bunch of other printings, most of those being valued still at under $1. Really good card for something like Sedgemoor Witch, which we mentioned earlier. For 3 mana, we're having a sorcery that lets us scry 2 and then draw 2 cards, and we lose 2 life. So why not include it in a deck that has Magecraft as well? Coming in at number 2 this week, we have Orc Mechanics from Antiquities at $4. This is up 272% this week. Actually a pretty good card. For 3 mana, we're having a 1/1 Orc. Now you can tap it to have it deal 2 damage to any target, so basically a shock on a stick. However, each time you do this, you have to sacrifice an artifact. Seems pretty good if you have a deck that's generating a lot of treasures, for example. And since this is the only printing of Orc Mechanics, he's getting pretty hard to come by. Of note though, it is not actually on the reserve list, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a card like this reprinted at some point in the future. And our big winner this week, up 367%, is the Guilds of Ravnica Guild Kit printing of Savara, Queen of the Golgari, at $19 for this card. Now take note, you can actually get one of the original printings of Savara for around $5, but these Guild Kit printings are in pretty low supply. We've mentioned Savara over the course of the last couple of weeks. She keeps cropping up on the list. Really good as an include in any sort of Golgari deck that's creating a bunch of pests, for example, and she's also a premium pilot for a Golgari commander deck. For 4 mana, we're getting a legendary elf shaman. Of course, that is important as well. And whenever we sacrifice a black creature, we can pay 2 life. If we do, each opponent has to sacrifice a creature as well. And then, of course, whenever we sacrifice a green creature, we gain 2 life. Like I was saying, pretty solid with all of these new cards that generate green and black pests. Alright, before I get into cards I'm investing in this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, you know I want to thank you for your continued support. And if not, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Alright, this week I've chosen a bunch of cards that I believe are really good value plays right now. So we're going to start here with Snapcaster Mage. Now I honestly believe that Modern is in for a big revival or resurgence, I suppose you could say. At $64.50, Snapcaster is one of the premium staples in this format. The Ultimate Masters printing is the cheapest version of this card you can get your hands on, although most of the other ones are still under the sort of $70 mark. It's quite a ways off its all-time high of nearly $75, and if you believe, like I do, that Modern is in for a massive revival, now is a great time to be picking up staples like Snapcaster Mage. I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about a card like Opposition Agent. Part of me thinks that Wizards never should have printed this card. And the other part thinks, well, you know what, there's a lot of busted stuff out there, and Opposition Agent kind of just fits in with the rest of those types of cards. Regardless of how I feel, $15 is one of the cheapest prices you've ever been able to pay for Opposition Agent. So if it's the kind of card that you want for your deck and your playgroup is okay with it, because nothing will make a player more salty than when they go to tutor and you flash in an Opposition Agent. But like I was saying, if your playgroup is cool with playing with cards like Opposition Agent, there's never been a better time to pick one up than right now. And my last value pick for this week is Pact of Negation, specifically the Time Spiral Remastered printing. At just $16, there's a massive disparity between this and all of the other printings. In fact, some of them, like Future Sight and Modern Masters, are worth double what we're seeing this Time Spiral Remastered printing being worth. Huge card. We all know Pact of Negation, played in multiple formats, including Legacy, Modern, Vintage, and of course, Commander. Now's a great time to be picking up this Time Spiral Remastered printing at half the price of all of the other printings. Alright, well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of This Week in MTG Finance. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.